I've witnessed some horrors, right? At this show, I saw a ton of A art being applied to things like covers, to things like prints, to things like little playing cards and stuff that people were making to market their book and to sell their book. Even to the point where the biggest atrocity that I saw and heard. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Comics Grind. I am one of your hosts, Nico Rodriguez.
And I'm Ken, aka Ken on YouTube.
And thank you so much for joining us once again for another weekly comics discussion. We've got an interesting one for you today, a hot topic. We're going to talk about some of the horrors that I experienced this weekend. Might be a
Yep.
strong word, but also it might not. Um, Ken, man, how's it going, dude? What you been up to this week?
It's been the same as usual, man. I've just been I've just been drawing. I've finally gotten I think a good handle on the marketing situation. So now I'm like able to get back into the craft of things and fully embrace um art and drawing and getting back into it now. So got a recent assignment for coloring comics. So I'm about to dive
Nice.
into that and try to balance that out with doing Air Rider on the side. So
Dude,
yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
been pretty decent. It's been pretty decent so far.
No, yeah, that's a good week, dude. Any kind of gig? Is it a larger scale, kind of longer project, or is it a little bit of a shorter? Because the last coloring gig that you had, it was for a full comic series or a full book or whatever it was. Is this more along the lines of that, or is it something a little smaller in scale?
Yeah, actually, the last coloring gig I had was for a book called. Well, actually, I think they changed the name, but yeah, I was working with Aaron Conley on that one, and it was a 36-page project that I did for like about 8 weeks.
Mm,
So maybe around like 2 to 4 pages per week. His name is Aaron Conley, and right now we're just working out the samples of how the pages will look, and we're like figuring out how we're gonna move forward. So yeah, that'll be
cool.
fun. I don't know if I even like, say this or if I should even like reveal this right now. So if that part needs to be cut out of the video, we'll just cut it out. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'll just say that I'm working on a new project with Aaron.
dope. No, that's good, man. That's awesome. That's it's kind of one of those cool things where like one job leads to the other, leads to another, leads to another. Even
Right?
though
Yeah.
maybe like coloring strictly isn't just what you want to do, but a couple coloring gigs in, then you may get an inking gig or something, and a penciling gig, or if they even it's very you don't see too many like inkers and pencilers separated that much as much anymore. So I don't know if there's just a
Yeah.
strict inking gig that you could get, but you could.
Well, the main thing I just want to do is just work on Air Writer, but is like a great thing for me to do on the side of that because it's not fully engaging all my artistic abilities. It's just coloring somebody else's work. They've already done most of they've already done the main work, so all I have to do is like, make it look really good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's good, man. Solid, solid. How about you? You been reading any new comics or anything lately? Because we haven't really talked too much about the comics. What we're into right now. Anything you got?
Man, it's been a while since I've read any new comics. Because I've just been like reading all these like marketing books and tech stuff. But now I'm getting started on Radiant Black. And I've only read a few pages so far, but it's actually really funny. And yeah, it's like I think it's a spiritual successor to Invincible. And there's even a
Mm,
blurb on the front that says, if anyone wanted more Invincible, this is the book to read. And by Robert Kirkman himself, he wrote the blurb. So
Nice.
I'm interested to see where it goes.
That's cool. It's got like, from my understanding, it's kind of like an Invincible meets Power Rangers type of thing going on. That's kind of what I've heard that it had like its similarities to like Power Rangers. I think it's because it's like the colors or something like. I haven't read it, so but I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
um,
The Power Rangers comic by Dan Mora.
I don't. I mean, just like the concept. I think like the concept of
Oh,
there
okay.
being like suits that are like different colors. I don't know. I haven't read it yet, so but that's all I've heard it
Right.
kind of be compared to. Maybe like a more grown up Power Rangers or something. Um,
Right.
that's dope. I've been reading. So I got recently got like the big collection of Eight Ball by Daniel Klaus. It collects like 1 through 18. It's my
Nice. Is
first
that a
my
new his newest book?
So it's all of his old material, older Eight Ball material, 1 through
Mhm.
18. I believe this the first book came out in the 80s.
Whoa.
So it's all of that collected into one thick paperback that I got. Um so I've been reading through that. I haven't read any Clouds before, and it's been one of those things where it's like always been on my list, but I just haven't got around to it because there's just so many other things. But
Right.
I've heard so much about Clouds, so finally bought that big trade, and man, I see the hype now. I see it because I've been reading. There's a one of the series that he does in it is called I'm gonna like a what is it, like a velvet glove cast in iron. I think that's what it is. Like a velvet glove cast in iron. It's an interesting title, but
Yeah.
it's freaking good. It's like it's wild. It's very David Lynchian. And we spoke before about Twin Peaks, and I was getting into Twin Peaks, so you can almost kind of tell like you know uh Clouds was trying to channel that kind of um that David Lynch inspired direction with that series because it's just wild. But
Yeah. Let
he's
me
also.
scroll through it for a
Oh
second.
yeah,
Like, yeah, show
yeah,
my
yeah.
screen.
Pull that up. Yeah, so that's some various artwork there. Um, yeah, that's probably, yeah. It's like various covers that he's done and stuff. Yeah,
Right.
but but so like that's probably my favorite. But the thing is like whenever it initially came out, like issue 1
Uh
was
huh.
like issue 1, or each issue contains like multiple snippets of each series. So it's almost kind of like almost like a strip in um each of those issues. So like there's strips
Right.
that reoccur in each issue. So like that's probably my favorite so far was the um like a glove. But there's also like some other good like comedy things and just some wild that's the exact book that I have there.
Oh, okay.
The
Nice.
the complete edition. So it's got some awesome stuff, man. So I'm about 100 pages into it or so right now. So I'm working my way through that, and yeah, it's some good stuff. Definitely recommended. But obviously, it's all alternative comics, so um,
Right.
it's not going to be as action heavy as Radiant Black for sure.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like more comedy driven underground type of stuff, but it is
Nice.
fantastic, man. Um, but yeah, other than that, how about drawing wise? You got any good drawing in this week or anything? And I saw you posted a few sketches or something online. Yeah,
Yeah. I only got like a couple things done. So like a
dope.
little bit of this. This was on my Instagram, and this one. Wait, hold on a minute. Yeah, this one right here is gonna be my next like I guess little video because I took a video of me like inking that piece. So I finally figured out how to set up my camera in front of my drawing so that I can like take a
Nice.
really nice close video of me like actually coloring it or inking it and all that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be my next video online, and yeah, I'm finally like getting back into drawing. I'm like really rusty, but it's just nice to be able to put ideas on paper again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I need to I have a setup too to like record myself, but it's not the best setup because I see some that are like very close in. I've got like one of these little phone holder arm thingies.
Uh-huh.
But I need to get a better setup in that regard. But it's also just a pain to like set up to record yourself.
Yeah, and there was no need for it back in those days. It was just
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
art and then get it out there.
Yeah, for sure. I actually so I went to a exhibition over here at one of the museums in Houston. And they
Mhm.
had this graphic novel from the 50s called The Parade by Cy Luen. Um and they had all 63 original drawings from the graphic novel on display there. And they only had like a week left at the exhibition. So this weekend I was like, dude, I got to go out and see it. So
Yeah.
and it was amazing, man. Basically, like the way like the exhibition was laid out, it was like each of the pages went around the room so you could like follow the story in sequence. And it's
Mhm.
and it's a wordless comic or wordless graphic novel. Um and it was just incredible. It was basically so Cy Lewin, he was in the army at the time of witnessing some of the concentration camp um
Uh-huh.
rescues and kind of liberations. So he basically did this graphic novel kind of chronicling um his experience, but more of like an abstract way of telling it and everything. And it was incredible, man. And I was like
What
super
was it
super
called?
super the Parade by
The Parade.
by Cy Luen. Cy is Si, and then last name Lewen. Um but it was an incredible exhibition, man. And like he uses like graphite and ink and just some real like abstract stuff to kind of get his story out. So I
Yeah, it
was like,
looks like nothing I've ever seen before.
yeah, and that's the thing, dude. Like this was done in the 50s. I mean, like if this book came out now, are you okay? Let me share a screen.
Yeah.
Like if this book came out now, dude, it would be like Eisner winning material and just some insane stuff. Like this was ahead of its time. And I was looking at these drawings like in person. I was like kind of taken aback. I was like, wow, dude, like this dude was doing some insane stuff. Um
There's no like speech balloons or anything.
No, yeah, it's completely silent. So no speech balloons. Basically a lot of like side shots, like these silhouettes. And
Uh-huh.
actually, and I missed it, but Art Spiegelman came to
Whoa.
Houston to introduce this exhibition back in May, but I didn't know it was going on, and I'm kicking myself for not knowing that it was going on because I mean it would have been awesome
Wow.
to see art there.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, it was just like this hidden little gem that, unfortunately, this kind of stuff doesn't um have a lot of notoriety behind it, which sucks because like this was an incredible experience to go and just see, man, all the original pages like in sequence.
Right. Like it doesn't get much media coverage, I guess.
No, dude, not at all. I bought that book too because they had the book to buy there that like has the scanned pages in it. Um,
Nice.
But yeah, it was awesome. It was just a wild showcase, and I'm so glad I was able to get about an hour away from whatever I was doing and getting down there to the Manil museum. But so like I was so kind of inspired by it that I came and I actually did a video on my Instagram too, I was inspired by it, and I was just kind of just got a piece of paper, put down the hit the record button, and did some penciling and just threw some ink around, just kind of inspired by like that, kind of World War II exhibition, and got the old toothbrush out and splattered. Um, just inspired, man. I got home
Nice.
late that night, and just threw down. I was like, man, like that was so inspiring. Let me just kind of get some thoughts out onto paper and record
Right.
it. So if the viewers out there want to check it out, it's on my Instagram. Just kind of about a minute long kind of time lapse video on it. But it was an
Nice.
awesome end to my week last week for sure. Um, but yeah, that was some cool stuff. But enough of that intro stuff, right, Ken? We need to move
Yeah.
on into today's main discussion. Um, so this main discussion, it kind of sparked and it kind of sparked kind of something in my head to talk about it this week after a show that I did this last weekend on Saturday. Um, so this kind of main topic is going to revolve mostly around AI art. And I know that it's been a big thing that's kind of been in the headlines and whatnot for a good while now. And I'm honestly kind of surprised we're kind of just now touching on it, 20 episodes in. But
Yeah.
this weekend, yeah, but this weekend was actually the first time that I really saw it being applied in a creative space um at the show. Now, what I'm talking about, what I said at the top of the show, I mentioned that I've witnessed some horrors, right?
Yep.
So essentially what I meant by that is at this show, I saw a ton of A art being applied to things like covers, to things like prints, to things like little playing cards and stuff that people were making to market their book and to sell their book. Um, Even to the point where the biggest atrocity that I saw and heard over the weekend, I was just kind of, walking around the venue just to kind of check out the vendors, and they had a lady there with a gang of other ladies surrounding her, and the speaker in the group had a handful of like playing card sized things with various characters and things on it, and she had them kind of spread out in her hands, showing her friends or her other author friends or whoever they were, and saying like, "Oh yeah, I just I did these, in a Mid Journey. Look at how incredible they are." And everyone was like, "Oh
Yeah.
man, awesome!" And they're like little playing cards with like, her little creature characters in the center, and they had like a little border around them. Maybe she put the border on the cards, whatever. But the main image of it was all done by Midjourney, and they were like astounded by this thing. Um, and the look on their face was like, "Oh wow, I can't wait to do that. I can do that with my book, or I can do that with my property, whatever."
Yeah.
And I was just taken aback by it because this was like the first time that we've all heard the online buzz about AI art, what it means for these art driven industries, but I had never seen it applied in real life like I did this weekend. And a part of that could be because it was predominantly like an um a author show, so like a lot of like book writers and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that one situation, I was like, whoa, this thing has arrived and it's starting to disperse now into
Yep.
these creative fields. So it's kind of something I kind of just want to highlight and kind of talk about. um Ken, have you experienced what, just as a general aspect, like, have you experienced AI art firsthand, or what has your kind of been your experience with it?
I've had a ton of experience with it, but not really that much like firsthand. I was discussing on Twitter about AI art the other day, and a guy was showing me how detailed this cover, this comic book cover was for this completely AI art generated campaign. I don't know if the book itself was written as AI or written by AI, but all of the art was generated by AI. And the campaign was doing like I think $10,000+ on
Wow.
Kickstarter. And one of the covers looked really fantastic actually. It looked really good. And the guy I told him like it looks so good. It's it's actually hair raising how good it looks. Um but the thing about AI art is like people are already starting to use it because it's just easier. It's like humans will tend to go with the path of least resistance. So they see AI art being the most easy thing to use for their book cover or their cards or whatever, and then like boom, it's like, oh, where'd you get that done? Mid Journey. People are like, and then the name spreads that way. And I've been keeping tabs on like Mid Journey. I've been following it on Instagram. Um, yeah, mostly on Instagram. And so then whenever the tag pops up, I get to see like, okay, how far has AI advanced to the point where have they fixed the hand issue where they can actually put the right number of fingers on the hand? Um, how does it compare to real artists and whatnot? And I have a ton of things to say about AI art, but I want to get your take on it first, and then we'll kind of bounce back and forth on it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's especially after this weekend. Um, there is certain parts of like these creative industries that I think are going to be, or obviously already have been affected, in different ways. Like
Yeah.
in regards of like comics, obviously, because that's what we do. I think that AI has a long way. And I think um back whenever the mid journey and everything was very the hottest topic on the internet, Scotty Young actually he put out a pretty great article on his Substack, um that kind of explained like, you know, the impact of like the human hand and the human mind and like the human experience into storytelling is either never or just a very long way from happening, with AI art. Meaning, like for us as comic storytellers, as cartoonists, we're paneling everything, we're writing everything, we're drawing, every situation happening in that book. Um,
Hmm.
for us, it's going to be hard to replace us because there is so much inherent humanity within, making these stories.
Yeah.
Now, so that's why I'm not too frightened about it because I'm pretty confident you give a robot, you know, hey, make west not south. It's not going to be easy for them, and they're probably going to fuck it up.
Yeah, it's not gonna
They're-
spit out the whole story. It doesn't know
exactly,
the ending of it or any of
exactly.
that.
So there's like so much humanity in like in what we do, to the point where like I question like if it does become a huge thing, like could that possibly increase the value of work done by people like us, since it's more scarce now, the value of our original artwork increases? Possibly that could be a case, who knows.
Mhm.
um but then you look at other industries like the novel industry now here, especially after this weekend, is where I see like where these images and these graphics are not being used to tell stories per se. They're
Mhm.
just there to be an eye catcher, or they're there to, you know, sell a book based on like visuals alone, not like the
Yep.
actual storytelling of it. That's where I see AI art really making an impact, which, in a sense, it does impact us artists as well because, you know, you or I, we'd like to do posters, we'd like to do covers, which, it's hired work is hired work. So, that's eliminating some opportunities in that regard. Um, so that's
Yeah,
kind
and
of where I see. Yeah.
yeah, that was the point I was making about like the path of least resistance. Like a lot of these people would end up paying like maybe anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 for a really decent cover, but now AI can just spit that out in like 10 seconds
Yeah.
for $0. People are instantly going to flock to that. They're going to tell all their friends about it, and then everyone who was doing covers is either going to be out of the job or getting way less work. And so like um I think cover artists, if they're like associated with the sci-fi genre, they can bring value to a cover just by being in the same genre as the cover itself. But AI can do the exact same job. It's like they're not going to be getting as much work as before, and that's just due to human. It's not even it's any malicious intent. It's not any laziness on their part. It's just human nature. We're
Yeah.
just gonna go
It's
and do this thing. And for me, um, all my enjoyment of art or is in the creation, is in the making of it. And that can't be replicated by AI. I can't just start typing and then have the same enjoyment as actually making the thing. And it's going to
yeah.
spit out something that looks technically better, but it's not going to be me. It's not going to be something that comes from me. And what you said about um the value of the human touch going up is I think that's the trend it's gonna go in, because that's what I was talking about on Twitter with the other guy. I was saying that human touch is going to be valued way more in the future. People doing video of themselves drawing and actually ideating and putting stuff on the page. People are going to be like, yeah, this is what we want to see more of. Um, Versus, and then he came back with, well, the people who are interested in that Kickstarter, they don't care. They don't care about the human touch. They just care that it looks badass and they're throwing their money at it. So I'm like, I kind of left it at. I didn't know what to say. And it's not because I believe AI is going to take over our jobs. It's just that you can go endlessly in this conversation, but what do you have to say about that and people's tastes in what they like? Like,
Yeah.
hey, it's AI, I don't give a fuck, it just looks cool, I'll buy it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that kind of worries me because um obviously me and you and people who like this stuff who are really into it, we like nuance. That's the reason why we like Mike Mignola. That's the reason why we like these guys who have these very unique styles, and you can tell it's them. You can tell that they put, their stamp on that book or that image. Um but I'm not sold, especially like in society nowadays. I'm not sold that that's what everybody wants. I mean, you see, there's so many mass marketed things that people just fall in love with and just follow the herd. There's so many TikTok videos and so many dances that people just view, and then they jump on the trend just because it's cool. you know
Yeah.
and that's my fear, that is like with AI art. It looks perfect, it looks beautiful, the clouds and the scenery looks amazing, and you see some of these like landscape drawings like AI spits out, and you're like, it looks perfect, it looks beautiful. And like, I don't know if society is smart enough to be like, yeah, it's beautiful, but I can just type that in and get the same thing. I feel like,
Just like
yeah,
that. It's like,
exactly. Like, I feel like a large portion, or maybe not as large as I think, but There's people out there who just follow the trend. Ooh, this is pretty. I like that. Cool. Let's go,
Yeah.
like and that's kind of um what still worries me to this day because, maybe I sound like too elitist or something whenever I say like, guys like you and I can, we know what good stuff is. I'm not sure that, you know, another portion of the population can like pinpoint that out and just say like, "Oh, that's pretty. I like it. Let me buy." And I
Right.
think right there with that Kickstarter that you brought up, like that's the perfect example, right? Made over 10,000 bucks by putting something in an auto generator. I mean, geez,
Right.
Um,
You know what? I think this is why personal brands is going to be that much more important going forward, because the guy I was talking about or talking to on Twitter, his name is Draw and Talk, by the way, Tyler Carpenter, and he said it's like looking at a sexy dead person. Like, art itself is beautiful, but it wasn't made by a soul. So it's just like, what does it stand for? What does it mean? Um what's the deeper meaning behind it that actually gives it its reason for existence? But if the whole reason for its existence is just you type some words in a on the keyboard, then there's really nothing behind it. So I think like what we're doing with the show here and building our personal brand, putting our personality out there, it's actually made us as important or even more important than the art itself, so that people come to our art for what we're doing, what we're creating, the idea that we're trying to put across, versus somebody with AI art who can just type into a computer. Because if they can type into a computer, so can any child. Any
yeah,
kid can type their stuff into a computer and then get the same exact result with no effort. And
yeah,
so it'll get to the point where there's such a glut of art, high quality art and animation or whatever, that people are just going to be tired of giving themselves infinite creativity and looking for the actual thing from people like us or from actual human beings. So like
yeah,
AI art is not going to be able to generate a Jeff Lemire. Like it's there's too many idiosyncrasies in his art style to properly replicate. It's like it's going to spit it out perfectly, but it's not going to have those imperfections that make the art nuanced enough for a human to really take the full weight of it.
yeah,
Um, and then there's always going to be those people that don't think that deep about it and don't give a fuck. They'll just be like, "Oh, it's just pretty. Like, I'll just buy it because it looks dope. It looks badass." And
mhm,
AI art does look badass. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. AI art, like when you look at it, it's visually striking. Like it's actually really good. But all of it, it just looks the same. Like it's just stealing from the same people. You see a lot of anime inspired AI art. It looks the same as the last piece as the last piece. It doesn't have true creativity to bring out something new.
yeah,
It's always spitting out the same result. And I don't know. It's just, it's something that we'll adapt to. Humans always adapt to over time. And it'll
yeah,
be actually just interesting to see how people adapt to this new technology, because I'm not worried about it at all one bit. I'm just gonna be sitting back drawing my own comic. Air Rider stands for something. Air Rider is gonna mean something. West and South means something for somebody. It's
yeah,
going to it's going to matter more in the long run what we're doing on the page versus what AI art does. Just like your Cy Lewin exhibition that you went to. That
yeah,
wasn't spit out by a machine. It
exactly.
was created by a human hand.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're never going to be able to get that. I mean, even if you, I mean, obviously the other legality portion of it is, it's grabbing from other artists. If you
Oh yeah.
type in, Alex Ross Superman or something, it's, grabbing from all these other things, which is, I guess that's the unethical portion of it, and that's, an entirely new conversation in itself, which,
Yeah.
it's got so many layers there. But
Just really quick on that on that
yeah,
point though, like people aren't gonna give a fuck though, like that it's
they're
illegal.
not.
They're just gonna keep typing in and keep stealing, keep like being like, hey, this is my thing. I typed it in, and they'll be brazen about it. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna slow down anytime soon. And the younger generations is gonna grow up with it and become even more adept at manipulating and doing stuff with it. So it has yet to be seen like what it's capable of.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's
But
kind of the worry, right? Because
one more little thing. Sorry about that. And I think we have the advantage as storytellers because we have a beginning, middle, and end to our stories, and AI can't predict what we're gonna do with our
yeah.
story or end our story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when we're making these stories, sometimes our mind, as we're making these page by page by page, we're taking those turns. There's no way like AI can predict those turns because we don't know those turns yet,
Yeah.
Um, so and that's what I was saying, like, and that's the worry about, you mentioned like the younger generations are gonna have this as more of, acceptable practice in their everyday art fields or whatever. You know what does that mean for the Siluans, the parade in the future? Like, will those things like never exist again? Like
Mm.
that's what, that's like the ultimate end of the world scenario where these artistic creative visions, that like such as the one that I just saw that was so striking, that inspired, a drawing that I did that may inspire something else, or now what happens if those are totally, extinct, and all we've got are like, oh, like check out the way this guy typed this paragraph into this generator. Like look at this on the wall. Like, and obviously that's a very extreme example, and knock on wood, it hopefully it doesn't happen like that. But you know, maybe that's a good apocalypse story that can be, these works of historical like nonfiction and fiction are completely extinct, and these experiences can't happen anymore. I mean, that's what I do not want to happen, right? Because obviously, just after this weekend, like it was such a great experience that this needs to kind of live on for people to attend and see these kinds of types of things. But
Yeah,
pretty
but
wild to
I
think
would
about.
say yeah, but I would have one final question to that, and it's this video that um this creator named White Manga he came up with. He said we can steal from AI. So it's like whatever the AI generates, you can steal all the design things that that the AI generates, and you create something new. So it's like if AI catches up to you, okay, steal from AI, and then now it has to play that catch up game because you can always just take elements, the best elements from it, and then it now has to generate something even better, and you can endlessly go after it because it's generating the full image, and you don't have to do any work, so you can really take from AI, and then it has to keep up with you at that point.
Dude, I think that is the real war against the machines. It's just going to be like the machines stealing from us, we steal from machines, and it's like this never-ending like economic battle between the two.
Yeah.
Y- Yeah, I
So
don't. I
I thought that
haven't.
was a great point that he made. I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
no,
okay, I never
yeah,
thought of
that's
it like that.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's interesting for sure. For me, I just, at least at this point in my career, I haven't got the urge, or I haven't maybe it's the morality behind me to even like look at an AI generator and like type, cactus, lonely cactus in desert, like I haven't got that. I've got like, books and stuff that like I bought whenever like I went to West Texas, and like those are like, helped me like inspire things, but there's just
Right.
something in my brain that's like, "Oh no, don't do it." Maybe
I
it's
Oh, go
my
ahead.
personal stance. Maybe it's like my personal stance against it, It's my my propaganda saying no to AI art, I guess.
Right. I've actually signed up for the like AI discords and whatnot
No,
just to
no.
just to do some spying and see what it's like on the inside. And I
Uh-huh.
haven't really like made anything yet, but looking at what it's like, what people are creating, I'm like, okay, so that's the level. I'm monitoring like what's the level that AI is at now. Have they fixed this issue? Have they fixed this issue? Um so yeah, it's just interesting to see how it develops over time and what it's going to develop into and what that means for us.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, dude, this is the war. Like now you're like a spy for the humans, jumping to all these discords. Like I think we're like legit in the war against the machines right now. So we just don't
Yeah.
entirely realize it quite yet. It
Yeah,
starts it's
it's not
it
a hot
starts
war
with
yet.
it starts with Ken and Air Rider.
Yep.
But cool, man. I think that's. I'm sure we'll kind of revisit this stuff because this is, as we know, it's an ever evolving technology and is always kind of constantly impacting the creative world in multiple regards. But I think
Right.
that can kind of cap the conversation for today, and we'll revisit it at a later episode. But Ken, man, where can the good non-robot liking people check out your handmade artwork online and your handmade comic books?
Well, y'all can check me out on Twitter at @bcomiken and on Instagram at comiken. And I'm pretty much on either of those every day. And then you can also check me out you can check out my comic Air Rider High School Hero on Global Comics. And I also have a YouTube channel. All the links in the description below. And that's pretty much it on my end.
Awesome, awesome. And you guys can find me on Instagram at Nico_writes. The same thing on Twitter or X, whatever it is. Also on Threads. I don't post too much on there, but maybe I need to get more into it. You can also follow me on my Substack at nicorodriguez.substack.com. Posting, process stuff, updates to my graphic novel, West Not South, that I'm getting near the end of in terms of like the handmade artwork. I still got to do a lot of kind of formatting things and stuff, but we're getting there, man. We're getting there. And also just to kind of start plugging right now, it's still a ways out. But Comic IndieCon happening here in Houston. That is going to be not until December 2nd. It's a 1 day show, but just trying to, kind of plug it right now. It's still a ways out, but you can follow the Instagram page there and kind of get all the updates, see all the creators and whatnot. Actually, Ben Dunn, who is now a comics grind friend, is actually going to be there as well. So it's going to be a cool show. Just a day all about indie comics. I'll be there as well as a handful of other people. So, but other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week, and we will see you next time.
Peace.